does it. So good.
We can say I love all of Rick's food. Look at this. Watch this. Ah, oh, mm, mm.
Yeah. For your next foodgasm, come to Rick's.
Oh, wow.
It's out of control back there. You don't want to see it.
Mm,
If you're on Rumble, you'll see it,
mm-hmm.
or X. Oh, what else is going on? Obviously, still doing some construction, but many of you know I fell off a ladder, cracked some ribs, and I really have to force myself to chill out. I really like to move and do stuff, and um, I have to sit still. So the podcast is a good place for me to chill. So here we are.
So, do you have your guys working on a project right now with Rick with Beery
Yeah.
Construction?
So we have some friends that framed a house and they rolled the trusses. And then I get a phone call like, Rick, can you help us? We don't know how to finish it. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, well, we got a 12-12 pitch and a 3-12 and a 4-12 and a 9-12 pitch. And all these things have to tie together. We don't know what to do. And I said, well, I'm pretty good at geometry. I'll be down there. So we spent a couple weeks just filling in the valleys of the different pitch roofs and you know, cutting crazy angles, doing all that stuff. And then they're like, "Hey, we want to roof it." I don't recommend roofing in the winter,
Yeah.
but if you want to do it, go ahead. Shouldn't be a serious problem, but
No.
you run the risk of if the dust blows and the shingles haven't adhered themselves together on the little tar strip on the bottom to make it one membrane, they could flap, get a little dust, and then they don't stick as well. Um, so there's pros and cons to everything. Um, but we're going to do it, get it done, and it should be fine. So we were roofing, and I was underneath where the bottom edges come together. One came down lower. I was putting some roofing on that, and that's when the ladder went. And I did some ninja kick, flying squirrel action, and did not stick the landing.
My question is, were you using the 3 point of contact rule at the time?
Maybe going up and down. I mean, anyway, doesn't matter. I did not bounce.
No, it doesn't count if your belly touches. That's
Don't
not a point of
pass go.
contact.
Don't collect $200. Go to jail. So I'm in jail for several weeks till this thing heals up. But I'm in pretty good spirits. I think I have a really high pain tolerance because I was like 2 weeks. I'm like, I'm ready to go on the roof, but I was like, I better get an X-ray. And they're like, yep, it's broken. I was like, yeah, I'll chill out. So let it heal right. But I was in the military. I was the crazy guy to run 12 miles on a broken leg. I mean, I'm nuts. So, um, so yeah, I do have to recognize some of those things about me. Well, let's jump into globalism.
Really quick, take a bite of that burger.
Jeez, really quick. Just for you.
I want to see this on camera.
Yeah.
Up close.
Big old burger.
Oh man. Oh wow. Mmm. Oh yeah. So we'll eat from time to time on Rick's because I mean that's part of what Rick does. He does a podcast at his restaurant and bar in town. So he's just showing off the goods.
Yeah. We order our meat from Ray's Meats, and it's a half-pound patty, and it's low fat, so when you cook it, it doesn't shrivel up to nothing. So people do seem to like it.
So we're talking about sovereignty and globalism. What do you got for us today?
Yeah. So globalism versus populism. So I've considered Trump a populist. So you might want to call a nationalist, one who says country first.
Yeah.
The globalist agenda is right to unify everything. And it's been really fascinating to watch this because I was like, what is Trump doing? He's acting out of character. And he's like, calls Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, right? He's like, calls him a governor. He's like, I'm gonna buy you. I'm gonna, we're taking Canada. And the Canadians, you got people that are for it, so less taxes. You got people like, no way, we don't want anything to do with the U.S. So you got this like funny thing going on.
Yeah.
And then he's like, the Panama Canal's not playing ball. We built that sucker and we gave it to them for $1, and they charge us more to travel through there than China tankers cruising through there. Why are we paying 400,000 when you charge China 100,000 to bring a tanker through there? So it's like you got these disparities going on. And then he's like, I'm gonna take Greenland for security reasons or natural resources, whatever rabbit hole you want to go down. I'm going to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. You've seen all these things going on, if you're aware. So I want you to take a step back. And Trump is telling you exactly what the globalist plan is. He's going to do it. The globalist plan is to take North America and put it on one currency. Now, I don't know if the borders will be open. They kind of are already. We're friendly with each other. They're somewhat open. But if they're put on one currency, Canada takes the US dollar, Greenland takes the US dollar, that may solve several things going on. Right now you hear, I'm gonna tariff you 25%. I'm gonna tariff you 1,000,000% if you don't play ball with me, right? So you got these trade wars. Well, if everybody's on the same currency, potentially those trade wars go away. Now, I'm no genius with this. I'm sure there's a lot of smart people that can criticize this thought process, but consider for a second that there's a game being played right now, and we're Democrats, Republicans, all these people on the bottom. We're a bunch of slaves arguing. We don't know anything. So take a step back, and Trump's basically painted a picture of the globalist agenda. And I guess his mentality is, do I run it or do I let the globalists do it?
Yeah, I could see that.
The thing is put in play and has been a concept for a long time. If you go back 25 years ago, they called it the Amero, right? That was the conspiracy 25 years ago.
Wow, that was 20 years ago. It was 2005. Yeah.
Was it 20 years ago?
Yeah, 2005, the Marrow, and it got shot down really quick because the citizens took it to every congressman and said, "We are not giving up our sovereignty. It's our dollar."
And a lot of that's just to, I guess, submit like a concept, put it in the idea out there. And then, Donnie, you brought to my attention this Secured Prosperity Partnership of North America.
Yes.
You can Google that right on the whitehouse.com, right? Whatever.
.gov, yeah.
.gov.
Don't go to whitehouse.com.
Yeah.
I think that's
So you go right to the Washington and Google that. And that was a concept put out by Papa Bush.
Yep.
And it's funny, I have family back in the day that lived in the same neighborhood as he did, and they did his Latin American correspondence for him. But anyway, that's another story. But I'm trying to paint a picture for you of there's something bigger going on. The end objective is to put all of us on the same currency. Does that give Mexico a position of power by using the dollar? You may say no, you may say yes. Right now, the whole world has to buy the US dollar to buy something from Brazil. They got to buy their currency, right? There's a lot of currency trading going on, and this would simplify that process. So if you can make a fair arrangement for them, say, hey, you don't have to use the peso anymore. You're going to use the dollar. Yeah, keep your governing program. We don't care, right? Collect taxes. I don't know if it all goes to the Federal Reserve.
That's definitely another story.
They redistribute it back. Everybody's getting loans to rebuild and fix corruption and blah, 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 blah. I don't know if militaries come together. Like it's an interesting concept I want you to think about. So I was told that this is going to begin in March. So it's also interesting that Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, resigned.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's amazing. He meets with Trump. Then he's like, I'm out. He's like, I am not dealing with this Canada purchase. I am out. Um, I also want you to consider that whatever they want to be bought with, the money's there. Because to you and I, we see debt, right? You're like, oh, we need to borrow money, loan, interest rate debt. Yeah, we're the guys who pay the interest. But to the Federal Reserve, all it is a $100 million credit, $100 million debt. We created money, folks. I mean, it's that easy for them. They don't see money the same way you and I do. We see the burden of it. They just be like, credit, debit, money's created. You didn't have any Bitcoin miners. You didn't, like it. It's to them, it's a different deal. And then they'll be like, well, how are you going to pay for that? And they're like, well, if we pick up Canada, we pick up Greenland, we pick up whatever, that adds this many more people to the taxpayer leverage, and voila, they're like, oh yeah, no problem. And they're going to have kids, and they're going to keep it going. And so it's just trading commodities. Us.
I think it's important to know too that the Federal Reserve is not federal at all.
That's true.
It's a privately owned bank, and there's no reserve. We used to have a gold backing. That went away in 1972, I believe.
It's on paper, credit, debit, and then money's created.
And they call it fiat.
Fiat, yep.
Yep. And so they can turn on the press and turn it off whenever they want. And the more you print, the less value what's in circulation.
Yeah. So consider these things, and it'll be very interesting because if they pull this off, we live in an amazing time. And I can't tell you if it's good or bad. To me, it's just like, what is happening? Let me take a step back. Let me make a few phone calls. And I'm like, like this is blowing my mind how this is going to play out. So, my understanding of what I was told is there's going to be 7 kings, 7 currencies. North America, the dollar is going to be one of them as the reserve currency. So, anyway, we will see what happens. Very fascinating. I know there's a big rabbit hole there. Some of this information might be like way over the top for you, but just plan it in the back of your head and be like, okay, let's see what happens in March. Because Justin Trudeau shut stuff down and they open up in March. Imagine that. It's all coming together. It's crazy. So very, very fascinated. But he's telling you the game plan: Panama Canal, Greenland, Canada. It it blows my mind, and I'm like, the globalist agenda. It was going to happen, I guess, regardless if Trump or not. So consider that for a moment too, like to do that. And it's just like everything was been put into play. This had been planned for a long, long time, long before Trump. And so it's really weird for him to act out of character as like a populist, because to me, I'm like, he's going with the globalist agenda. What is going on? So very interesting to think about. Anyway, I wish I knew more about it, but other than that, that is the basics of what I was told by some redheaded stepchild banking person.
I heard about this guy.
Of a reserve. Yeah, kind of interesting. So I'm like, maybe he's right, maybe he's wrong, but it's good to be aware of this crazy possibility, because when it happens, is there going to be a few bumps in the road? Not everything is smooth sailing when you restructure something like that, but there's going to be some bumps in the road, and can you put it together? Anyway, I would say do your own research, but I wouldn't even tell you where to begin. Like, how do you research something like that? You're just going to have to wait and see. The other thing that's been on my mind, and I've made a few posts and comments about it, is, and I'm sure it's not just Washington State, but a lot of places aren't getting the revenue that they want. Washington State is like, hey, we're going to be down billions. Um, and if you look at what's happening with the economy in the world, consumer spending is down. That means business profits are down and business taxes will be down.
Well, people don't know where their next dollar is coming from. Go ahead and take another bite, bro. Don't let the thing go cold. People are wondering where their next dollar is coming from, and so they're hesitant about how they were spending back during the Trump era because I didn't know this. I hear people talk about it, but we made some eggs the other day. I paid $7 for a dozen eggs. So yeah, consumer spending is down because we have to prioritize. Do I want to eat eggs or keep my lights on?
And I did talk about the egg thing yesterday, and I could probably review that for you.
Yeah, I wasn't here. Sorry, I was heading to out of town meeting.
Yeah, so the egg thing is a little it's not complex, but my understanding is we have free range chickens. The eggs and the chicks have to be bought from free range mother hens. And because it's kind of a new thing we started, the infrastructure isn't there. So it's going to take, you know, 6 months, a year to get the birds in that we need to replace the flocks that they're culling, right? They find one bird with a disease in it. They're they might do like, oh, let's test 5 of them. One's got the disease. They're like, pull them all, right? Kill them all. I don't know if you can say that. Unalive them all. Can you say these things? So they call the whole, the farm or that area or whatever. So
Wait a second. I live on a cul-de-sac. Should I be worried?
should. You're next. So those are things to put into perspective. We can't just go to the Midwest and be like, hey, chicken farm where we used to buy stuff from, send us some eggs. They're like, oh, that's not a free range hen. Do not pass go. So maybe legislation could be like, hey, we're in a crisis. Get rid of that law for 6 months so we can restock our hen houses for eggs, and then we can get the price down quicker. Remember, it takes 6 months for a chicken to start laying eggs. Half of them are going to be roosters, right? You know what I mean? Like there's a process that goes on.
Wait, roosters lay eggs?
Of the eggs that are hen.
Oh, okay.
Now, they do have some that they can sex pretty quick, but anyway, there's a whole process that goes on, and yada yada yada. And the egg people run circles around me, right? So there's just basic understanding. Now, much of this bird flu, yeah, Sean Needham had a podcast that he talks about it. I think it's called Gains testing.
Okay.
Because he had some expert on there, and he said basically they test a bunch of bird flu viruses on these birds, and they call it Gains testing, and they can create vaccines, whatever. It's like force it now so we can fix it. If it comes up later. I guess it got out of hand, and now a lot of birds are having problems. So these once in 100-year, you know, virus problems are happening like every couple years because we're like uh, maybe messing in areas we shouldn't, or we're not doing it in a safe way. But they're messing with ducks anyway. The concern is, I think it was reported the first human died from it. So far, it's jumped to a pig, it's jumped to some cats, and so
I'm going to say, though, can we believe everything we read?
yes, yes, you can believe everything you read. So because this one's jumping species, they're like, oh, concern. If it gets that right, whatever spike on it, it can jump to people. And the concern is it's going to jump from person to person. So, right, that's the concern.
What about, though, this, just taking the other side of the coin? All this is strangely happening in election time and before inauguration. Seems a lot like a big distraction.
Yeah. So the conspiracy on it is, if you want to go down this rabbit hole,
I like rabbit holes.
is COVID-19 was the test, and they got 80% of the world to comply. So if the bird flu is the real thing they let go, or released, or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
bird flu is the real one, and they can get 80% compliant on this, and maybe there's maybe more death, more problems, so now you have to pay attention more. Where before people were dying, but it's like the death rate at the end of the year was the same as the death rate of a normal year,
Yeah.
or maybe even less. And we all freaked out. And if you have a pre-existing condition, maybe you could have had a bad result.
Well, here's the cool thing with COVID, though. Really neat thing that happened during the whole pandemic. Um, the flu and the cold went away. So what's going to go away with the bird flu? Like,
Yeah.
is maybe cancer or chicken pox or go away or something?
Well, I would assume the real one may have more catastrophic results, and they could really get you to comply.
Yeah. That was more meant for humor than anything
Yeah,
because I'm hilarious.
hilarious.
Yeah.
So,
At some point, you're going to have to let me tell my blonde joke, but you'll like it.
do you want to tell it now, or is it
Sure, let's do it.
appropriate?
All right, it's appropriate. So this blind cowboy stumbles into an all blonde bar, biker bar, and he finds his way to the bar stool and sits down and yells out to the waitress, "Hey, you want to hear a blonde joke?" Naturally, the whole place goes deathly silent. And so he hears a voice next to him says, "Okay, cowboy, since you're blind, let me tell you these 5 important things that you ought to know before you tell your joke. First of all, the bartender is a blonde and holding a baseball bat. Second, the door person is a blonde with a billy club. I'm a 6-foot blonde and I have a black belt in karate. The lady next to me is a professional. She's blonde and she's a professional bodybuilder. The lady next to you is blonde and she's a professional weightlifter. Are you sure you want to tell this joke?" And he quickly looks around and shakes his head really fast and says, "No, not if I'm going to have to repeat myself 5 times."
Did he live? Is he in a chokehold?
Good joke, right? Good joke.
There you go. Good joke.
And it was clean.
Yeah. So yeah, the chicken thing's kind of interesting. The chicken and the egg. But yeah, you just got to be aware, of some of the things. So it'd be really cool if politics could ease up some regulations and let us buy eggs outside of free range chickens.
Is that what happened when they supposedly created the vax? They opened up some regulations.
Well, the other thing about free range chickens is they get sick, I guess, more often with the disease because they share the same drinking fountain and the same feeder. So when they were caged, they were isolated. It'd have to be like some major dander spray up for them to
Oh,
get it.
so we're going to start segregating the birds now. I get it.
Just like
Okay.
this. Hey,
Sounds racist to me.
hey, you want to sip? You know, they contaminate faster.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So free range chickens may lose their birds more frequently is a potential. And would that cause the cost to go up as we try to fix this? And another thing comes through and they got to cull them all and they got to fix it. So anyway, we have some obstacles ahead of us.
So are they not allowed to sell caged chicken eggs anymore? Is that what you're saying?
In like California, Oregon, Washington, I don't know all the states that do it, but I know like those 3 do, and they're supposed to buy from free range chicken hens for their eggs or hatchlings, right? So we need to change the regulations a little bit. I think they're squeezing us too much because when other places they call them, they'll be like, "Hey, send me some new chicks," and in 6 months they got layers again. Well, we don't have that luxury. It's going to take us a bit longer. We don't have the infrastructure.
Yeah.
We got one farm. They're like, everybody's calling, "I'll take 1,000,000 birds," and they're like, "I only got 100,000."
So the government's really good at doing stuff like this. They put regulations in place, but don't have the infrastructure. And I'm going to sidestep a little bit to the electric vehicle. And I went over to Seattle for the holidays, and part of the reason why is so they could that's the only place that get me in quick for a CT scan on my hip because they were worried that the lesions were growing, and all they had was an X-ray to go off, so they needed to look closer.
Are you possessed?
And so,
Legion?
no, not with an S, not a G. And so they got me into a side note there. They got me in, and the cancer in my hip is gone now. But we rented a car to do it because there were 4 of us going. Me, Dan and his 2 kids, and the car was full gas or full electric, and if you didn't have a full electric charge, you would run it off of gas and use some electric. So it was a newer type of hybrid breed. So I decided to test it one day, and I plugged it in at the hotel we were staying at 100% charge the next morning, and we're heading back to Moses Lake from Seattle. We got to Issaquah, and I had 0 charge on the battery. And so I was like, what is the point of this? I just spent $22 on a battery charge, and now I make it to Issaquah. If I have an all-electric vehicle, I wouldn't be able to get anywhere. And so with these regulations they're doing with cars, you can sidestep into anything else that the government does in regulation, chickens or whatever. They haven't tested it and come up with a conclusion on how to do it. And trial and error, unfortunately, in a society isn't the way to figure things out. Because you're having people having to walk 20 miles to work because their car won't run. Or having somebody that can't eat their eggs because their damn chicken wasn't a free range hen. Oh, sorry. Got a little excited there. Not all chickens are from the dam, but there are people down in Grand Coulee Dam that have chickens.
Yeah, if you check us out on Rumble or X, you'll get to see everybody and not just me on the Facebook Live.
That was kind of cool. I felt special that he held me up.
Someone asked, I go, turn the camera around. Well, I guess I could do it by hand. Yeah, so I mean that's government regulation. Yeah, you have people that aren't in business making rules, and regulation can be good, it can be bad. It's just the way it is, and that's how it happens. I'm regulated. I'm heavily regulated.
Because you're a bar and you do gambling.
Yeah, I have a ton of stuff. And if you'll indulge me for a minute, want to
Yeah.
hear me whine, boo-hoo. Um, I, anyway, there was a post I commented on, and every once in a while I will, and I was like, man, I pay a lot of fees to be regulated. I pay the health department $1,000, and they come in and they check my temperatures and food and all sorts of stuff. You know, I got to pay the gambling commission. I got to pay the liquor board.
The jukebox fees for the
Yeah.
royalties.
That one, I guess,
Same with TV too.
So that would be like copyright.
Yeah.
So I probably pay $3,600 a year to play like karaoke.
And people don't realize too that just to have DirecTV or whatever you have here costs you more money because there's more people watching and they charge you for that.
As a business, I pay more for the same fee you get at your house. Like at home, I pay like what, $75 a month for internet.
Yeah.
I pay like $285 to have internet in the business.
Wow.
I have an extra sewer fee. Ambulance, right? You pay what, $15 a month for ambulance fee? So I pay double that. I pay $34 a month for ambulance fee as a business.
Does that include the life flight as well too? That's on ours.
No, you have to carry them.
Oh, no helicopters here.
I have no idea. But as I go through my bills, like my recycling bin, I mean, was $32. Now it's $75. Like recycling should be free, you know, or whatever. So, however you want to slice and dice it, for some reason, it's the normal to charge businesses more for the same service you get at your house.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there's a couple of fees. Like I could pull out my bill and compare it to my home bill and go, man, there's a bunch of extra stuff on there, but it's just.
But it's the same stuff.
Oh yeah, it's the same thing, water, sewer, whatever. But I'll have like 5 items on there more. I know there's like an extra sewer thing and sewer, like my home bill. I don't see like sewer tier 1, tier 2. I'm like on my business bill. I'm like sewer tier.
What about lakeside disposal? Your garbage, is that higher too?
I mean, I'm in a big bin, so I would say that is probably a fair charge. Because
I know at our auto repair shop, we pay the exact same as a residential for them to come and get the can every week.
Well, you probably have a small can.
We have the normal size for that.
Yes, I have a big bin, and I'm sure I pay 100.
You have a dumpster.
Yeah, so that to me, I am throwing more trash away, so that's harder for me to argue with.
Yeah.
But some of the other things, I was like, internet's internet. Why am I paying 4 times as much?
Yeah.
But I mean, it is. So by the time it's all said and done, I pay like $15,000 a year just to have my doors open with basic services. It's like, huh, that's some pretty pennies going out the door.
A lot of people don't realize too that's the cost of business, and unfortunately, you have to charge accordingly to be able to recoup that cost. Otherwise, you can't pay your bills
For
to be
brick
able to
and mortar.
provide a good solid burger or karaoke or a
Yeah.
nice iced drink.
Now, if you can do a business out of your home, right? Like my construction business is out of my home. Boy, I'm loving that.
Yeah, you can write off percentage of your garage for storage. You can write off
I get to write off.
all kinds of stuff.
Well, yeah, I'm like, office space and storage I use in my home. Yeah, 3-car garage with stuff, nuts and bolts and
I
nails.
want some of that stuff,
Yeah.
especially the ones that go pew pew.
You want all my nail guns?
Yeah,
Yeah. All
no
those.
church pews, bro. Come on, man.
Yeah. But it's something to consider. If you want a brick and mortar business, there some of the things that are going to arise as a new business person are going to surprise you.
Yeah,
Even I'm surprised. There's things I was just unaware of, and the city's calling me and said, "Hey, you owe a gambling tax." I go, "To the city too?" They're like, "Yeah,"
wow,
and
wow.
they charge you on the gross amount. And I was like, "The gross amount? That's crazy. What if I lose money? Too bad. You still got to pay." I
Yeah.
was like, "Wow, don't lose money." Some taxes are on gross amount, small percentage. Some are on,
That's how the dealership is. I got to
net.
pay an extra 3.4% on top of, and it's the gross.
Yeah, the state charges me net. The
Yeah.
city charges me gross. But I mean, everybody wants their hand in the cookie jar.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, good stuff. So, if you're thinking about having a business, brick and mortar,
And all this stemmed when we were talking about the regulations to hatch a chicken.
yeah,
And just so we don't lose track of that, that's part of my job here.
chicken and the egg. So yeah,
And
prices are going to be up for a while.
yeah,
I think it's going to be 6 months to a year till they get this thing figured out. But anyway, I bet if you talk to a chicken farm, some of those people might know better than I would. This is just
I think we're gonna have to do some reporting now.
my little learning curve. Take it for what it's worth. Um, the other thing I thought was funny is President Biden was handing out the Medal of Freedom. I got to read this. Presidential
Wait,
Medal of Freedom.
wait, hold on. I'm gonna say this. If you have pen and paper and you're watching or listening, I highly suggest you write some of this down because
Just Google it.
it's very interesting. So pay attention.
Yeah. So a lot of celebrities, Michael J. Fox, Bono from the band U2, like, man, that was like my high school band, Hillary Clinton. This one surprised
What award did Michael J. Fox get?
Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Oh wow. Okay.
Hillary Clinton, George Soros. This one like blew my mind. I was like, what?
You know why Hillary Clinton got one? Because if she didn't, somebody would have disappeared.
You get Clinton if you didn't get an award. Denzel Washington, Magic Johnson. I'm like, you're a bunch of celebrities. Now, I get some of them do good things, have programs and things they do, but I really thought it was interesting that, if you're not a celebrity, you probably won't get selected. But, and there's many more, but these were the ones that I was like, I recognize that name. Recognize that name. But yeah, it's interesting the stickers that they are just throwing out there these days. I'm sure a few of them are doing good stuff, but some of them I kind of question. I'm like, you know. Anyway, they called me and asked if I wanted one, and I was like, I'll pass.
Didn't you say George Soros got an award? What was his?
George Soros. So they call him a philanthropist. Some people like that guy's breaking countries. So it's all perspective. All perspective, folks. It, I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. It's not what you know; it's who you know.
Yeah. So are they participation awards?
You want one?
No. Isn't he handed out pardons the same way too? Like he wants to give Liz Cheney a pardon, and this pardon is supposedly a blanket pardon for all the people he's giving them out to. Anything they don't know about that they find out later, she's pardoned for that too.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's time to wrap things up.
Yeah. Oh, wrong kind of rat.
Wrong kind of rap. Well, thanks for joining us, folks. Hopefully, your perspective is a little more aware of what's going on the outside. I don't know what's going to happen, but there are things happening that you should probably have a different perspective. Recognize that us little people, we don't really know what's going on. And we'll see you soon. Hang in there.
All right, here goes the outro, Rick. Because you always like to talk during this part. That's only me talking. Wow.